Welcome to the regular meeting of the Lake Bluff Joint Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. The date is July 19, 2023. If we could have a roll call, please.
Yes. Member Danley is absent. Member Fisher? Here. Member Miller is absent. Member Russell?
Here.
Member Toll?
Here.
And Chair Peters.
Here. A quorum of the PCZBA is physically present at the meeting. In regards to Member Sorensen, a notice was received in accordance with village policy, and Member Sorensen will be deemed authorized to attend the meeting electronically unless a motion objecting to the member's electronic attendance is made, seconded, and approved by 2/3 of the members of the PCZBA physically present at the meeting. If no motion is made, then Ann's request to attend the meeting electronically shall be deemed approved. I trust there is no motion.
Correct.
Hearing no motion, Ann's participation is approved. Agenda item number 2, non-agenda items and visitors' public comment time. The commission allocates 15 minutes during this portion of the meeting for individuals who would like to address the board on any matter not listed in the agenda. Each person addressing the Joint Commission is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. In this instance, however, it appears we'll have one presenter and it might go 4 or 5 minutes. So please take the speaker spot and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Gail Gamrath. I live at 660 Green Bay Road. I was born and raised in this town, along with my husband, and our parents still live here. Thank you all for your continued service to our village. As a longtime resident of Lake Bluff, we love this village, and for all the reasons you probably chose to serve on this board. Leif and I both grew up in Lake Bluff, and our family has taken advantage of all it has to offer. When we had the opportunity to buy a home that borders the Lake Bluff Park District, we were well aware it was not going to be the quietest plot in town, but it was one of the reasons why the property spoke to us. We have always welcomed the energy and sounds from the camps, the pool, the golf course tent parties, and even the late night paddle sounds. We feel it is our responsibility to partner with the Park District because we chose to live close to it. In the last few years, with the change of leadership at the Park District, that partnership has abruptly ended. We are no longer notified about anything that affects the neighbors like we have been in the past. We have proof they don't even know the names of the residences who live in the 9 houses surrounding the Park District. I believe you may be aware of the installation of 6 pickleball courts at Blair Park, 4 permanent and 2 that stand on a tennis court, but we've never seen the tennis court there in the past year. It's always 2 more pickleball courts. We were never notified these courts were being constructed. Unfortunately, we've had to become an expert on this issue because it's totally changed the ability of our family to function in our home. We cannot fathom what this has done to our property value. And now we find out that it was done illegally. This new construction was never brought to you, the village, or went through the permitting process like everyone else has to in this town. This process is not, as you know, a red tape technicality. The reason for the process is to address issues like the one currently happening for Lake Bluffers at Blair Park pickleball courts. Taxpayers should be livid for the carelessness of the Park District's illegal use of $80,000 of their donations and tax dollars. We heard that the Lake Bluff School District followed the law and went through this process while building their sport court. During this legal process, neighbors were able to express their concern about the noise level associated with pickleball, and thanks to you all, there will be no pickle played on those courts. I'm happy for those residents, as I wish this on no one, and I have to admit, a little jealous we were not given the same opportunity. Why does the school district have to go through the process and not the Park District? Our house property line is 25 feet from the pickleball courts. Nowhere in our research, and we've done a lot, have we found courts anywhere in the US that are closer than this. I'm sure there are somewhere, but we have not found them. Industry standards say 300 to 500 feet away should be the minimum distance that residents' pickleball courts should be placed next to homes. We have taken decibel readings well into the 70s dBA range in our backyard, and we have learned the pitch of a pickleball hitting a racket is that of a backing up dump truck. It affects that area of the brain. We can no longer use our backyard. We will never sleep past 8 a.m. with our windows open or closed, or ever take a nap during daylight hours again without going deep into our basement. We can never hear our TV without shutting our sliding glass doors, and sometimes they play past 9 p.m. during lighter hours. People are asking why we did not come forward sooner. We tried to be team players for a while and bear through it, but with the increase of play, it is not sustainable or healthy for our family. It comes into every corner of our home, 12 to 13 hours a day, every day of the week. We are not hopeful for talks of sound mitigation. We have read that you cannot mitigate sound when pickleball is so close to homes. Our property sits a little higher, and if you can see the play, you will always hear the play. We have nothing against pickleball or pickleball players. We love to play ourselves, but now we're being berated on social media. Our kids are being questioned, and people are angry. We really cannot believe this has happened to us in the town we love and what the Park District has done to us. We're so grateful to Drew Irvin and the village trustees to take a closer look at what has happened here. He shuttered the courts on Friday, as you may be aware. How can the Park District just do whatever they want when the rest of the town has to go through a process? We believe there are many other places in our wonderful town where we could put these courts that will not harm any family or any property value. We are hopeful that pickleball will be available in the near future for all of Lake Bluff to enjoy. We appreciate your time. Thank you. And I have some, just some literature and just some facts that I believe are true, just for a little bit more information. So thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Ms. Cameron. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for the documents. All right, agenda item number 3. Consideration of the June 21, 2023 PCZBA regular meeting minutes. I trust that all the commissioners have reviewed the minutes. Any proposed revisions or other changes?
I have 2 requested changes. On the second page, the 4th paragraph from the top, I made the comment that getting 40 parking spaces on the lot, and what I did say, 40 spaces on the lot if the site is developed as proposed. So if we could add if the site is developed as proposed, because they were proposing a lot of outdoor seating and a drive-through and a building addition. It's only 25 spaces there now, so. Anyway, and then there's some sort of 2 sentences that are run together here on the 4th page, and
Okay.
suggest you just delete that
Yep.
phrasing there.
Oh, thank you, Member Russell. Any other proposed revisions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Agenda item number 4, public hearing, residential variations, 500 and 502 East North Avenue.
Yes.
Ms. Gable, if you could provide us with an overview. Thank you.
Mike and Trish Reedy are seeking to modify and construct an addition to their single-family residence located at 500 East North Avenue, a Lake Bluff locally landmark property, which in part crosses the lot line and encroaches upon 502 East North Avenue. In order to construct the work, the petitioners seek a variation from the daylight plane height limitation of the zoning regulations as well as the minimum side yard limitations. The project originally came before the PCZBA last year And now the applicants are requesting 32 square feet total of additional floor space on the second floor, which would extend into the property's 5-foot side yard setback and into the daylight plane as well. The applicant's architect, Rob Douglas, is here to present the request. And on this matter, the PCZBA is a recommending body to the village board.
Thank you, Ms. Gable. Rob, if you would like to raise your right hand, stand up, and we'll swear you in, and we'll get started.
Yes.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Good evening. My name is Rob Douglas. I'm an architect here locally in Lake Bluff, and I am a Lake Bluff resident. I believe the Reedies are coming in via Zoom or audio. I don't know if they're present or not.
I believe, I'm sharing my screen. I believe Mr. Reedy is on the call.
Well,
Let's see.
Mike, can you let us know you're there?
He has raised his hand.
Oh, okay.
It shows on my screen. He is
Okay.
here.
Well, good. Yeah, unfortunately, summer vacation was planned out ahead prior to being here, so he's coming in via Zoom or the audio connection.
And if I may just interrupt real quick, Mr.
Yes.
Douglas, if Mr. Reedy or Mrs. Reedy wishes to testify, we'll have to swear them in, but we'll play that when we have to.
Okay, I can't really control where they're at right now,
Right,
so.
right.
Okay, well, I'm sad to say that we're back about this project that you addressed last summer. And as we got going with the project, we uncovered some things here that have caused this situation to occur. Let me just outline it real quickly, and then we can just go through the slides here, graphically showing what is happening here. So last year in July, this project came for its variation approval from the zoning board. The zoning board did not have a unanimous vote for it. I think it was 5-2, 6-2. It went to the village board, and then there were some modifications made additionally to what the ZBA, PCZBA saw, pulling back the second floor addition so it didn't cross the property line. And then as we got into the project, we found all of the additions are balloon frame, which created all kinds of difficulties about how to transfer loads down to the foundations. So maybe we could just move through the slides here and I can speak to what's happening here. So here's the addition, and let's see, does this laser work? I can't see it up there, but you can see in the right slide, the ground floor, first floor is remaining the same. That is actually crossing the property line as it did for the last 100+ years. What was done, as you can see at the top, there's a shed roof now above that portion of the kitchen, and the addition then was done on their property, not onto the neighbor's property. So what this resulted in was actually a reduction of the amount of area that the original structure was encroaching upon the neighbors. But with a balloon frame, you can see a plywood panel there. We had to strip off the stucco on both sides, install a wood parallam column in that wall so we could then have a microlam in the floor to pick up the loads coming down off of the new gable. So that was some gymnastics that we had not anticipated. Platform framing would have certainly been a lot easier, but that was not the case. Next slide, please.
Yep.
Well, we're being a little redundant here. You've seen this. You can see where the encroachment is. This is a roof line of what was originally talked about in July of last year. If we can keep going, please. As you can see, the top is what originally was here prior, well, back to June of last year. This image down below is what was approved by the village board. You can see the dash line on the left there above the shed roof. That was the gable that was removed and then pulled back. Actually, that's the original gable of the house prior to any of these considerations being discussed. But we pulled that back onto the property line, so that portion does not cross like the first floor does. Second slide, please, or next slide, please. So I don't know how much you know about structural platform framing versus balloon framing, but platform framing, this is the best illustration I could come up with, which is you build the floor deck, you put your studs up for that first floor, you put another platform in for the second floor, and then continue going up with the 2x or 2x6s in the exterior wall ending or beginning at the platform of the point in which it's starting and then going up to the underside of the next platform. The next slide is an illustration of balloon framing where the 2x's are continuous from the foundation all the way up to the roof. And a lot of times what you'll find with balloon framing is they'll just put a basically a ledger board onto the interior portion of the 2x's and then set the joists right on top of that. So it's designed to take all loads at the perimeter. Taking loads down through the middle is rather challenging. We were able to do it with the second floor, as I mentioned, above the kitchen, but the other areas proved more challenging. Next slide, please. So here's what was approved on the left side, and on the right side is what we have now. I identified the posts that we had to put into the exterior walls so that we could transfer the gable wall down to the outside corners. And we also didn't really know exactly how, well, with the original closet space there, which was only maybe 5 feet tall, we didn't know exactly where it was engaging the exterior wall, but we didn't know it was actually a balloon frame. So we ended up building right on top of the first floor wall so we could get a clean transfer of loads down. There are clips in the ceiling on the east end of the dressing area, but we needed to get right on top of those walls so we could get a clean transfer of the roof loads. I think the bigger area in question is the bathroom portion. As you can see on the left, that's where the toilet and shower and sinks are. That wall, we were hoping with platform framing, we would just take it straight across from the face of the gable on the south end of the building. That was not the case, so the only way we could really see doing this without having columns dropping down into the living space down in the first floor was to take these loads down on top of the existing first floor wall. And this ended up adding 32 square feet total to the space here. Next slide, please. Well, this is a close-up. Well, actually, that's an error. It's 32 square feet, not 26. I apologize for missing that. But, so the next slide, please, because I think it's a little
Yep.
redundant from what we just saw. Here's the back of the building, what was approved back in August of last year. Once again, the green highlights the area that was removed. So the second floor gable, which was going to head all the way out to the outside wall above the kitchen, is now sitting back in behind the property line. This also illustrates daylight plane, which is, you know, the whole side of the building is in the daylight plane in one form or another. This is a drawing of the front of the building. We put this drawing together so we could better illustrate what's going on with this area of where the bathroom's located. Once again, green is illustrating the removal of the roof that the village board did after the PCZBA reviewed this, and then the purple is the flat roof area for the bathroom. Next slide, please. And this is what is occurring now with trying to keep the loads on top of the bearing walls below. It pushes out another, I think it's a little over 2 feet. Next slide, please. This is what, when you look at the daylight plane through this section, this is what was approved, where, you know, the eave projection of the first floor is slightly encroaching into the daylight plane, and then you can see the blue shade is where it was going to be still encroaching to the daylight plane. Might add, this particular elevation, that whole gable on the right, is currently encroaching the daylight plane too, but I wanted to focus primarily on the bathroom area, because I think the dressing room area is certainly consistent with what the village board agreed with. Next slide. And then here's what the daylight plane change is for that area in question by allowing that wall to be stacked on the first floor wall for, you know, really structural reasons. And honestly, this wasn't intentional. This was just what we uncovered when we started taking this building apart. I figured the original building was certainly balloon frame because of the age of it, but no one really knew when these additions were done, because there are a couple of additions here. But that's what we found in there, and hence a rather challenging situation. I like to say that at least we have remained consistent to no further encroachment into the neighbor's property. That issue is consistent to what the village board approved back in August of last year. But we are seeking relief here to accommodate the structural gymnastics that we're dealing with, trying to get the roof loads down to the foundation in a clean way. So I guess right now we open for discussion and questions.
Maybe before we get to the questions, Mr. Douglas, if you could just address, and, or I guess alternatively, we could just adopt and incorporate by reference your new application that sets forth the standards for variations in your responses. Just
Yeah, and I have added to the application that was done a year ago, under practicality and hardship, I added that due to the discovery of balloon framing in the area of the addition, there was no practical way to transfer the roof loads to the exterior first wall. Due to this difficulty and hardship addressing the roof loads, the exterior bathroom wall was moved 2 feet 9 inches to align with the first floor wall. And it's a pre-existing framing dilemma that we ran into. And I think that's really the primary thing here. I guess certainly when it comes to the calculations that we did add 32 square feet additional to to the addition to address this structural challenge we had. But I think that's really the difficulty and hardship that we ran into. And I might further add, Clara had mentioned that this is a landmark home. It is built circa 1885, the first, it was the meeting house for the Camp Meeting Ground organization back in the late 1800s. The front of the house, as you could see from the photos, even the very first photo, none of this is visible from the street. It's really kind of buried back in between the two houses. I do believe Mr. Reedy does have a letter from the neighbor. I personally have not seen it, but I believe there is one on file. And yeah, so that's really the hardship that we've run into. And so we're seeking an additional variance.
So I guess before the commissioners will ask you any questions, you followed the philosophy and the guidance provided to you by the village board as best you can,
Yes.
but for this structural issue.
Yeah, and I just couldn't find a way to get around it, so here we are. I mean, we could have dropped posts down through the dining room, but, it's, that living room, particularly the living room, which this would be adjacent to, has got those really tall ceilings because it was the original meeting room for the camp meeting grounds, and it really is a beautiful interior space, and trying to bring these loads down through that area, I have to say I was scratching my head. I didn't know how to do it. So here we are.
No, thank you, Mr. Douglas. Who would like to start? Deb?
Well, not being a structural engineer or anything else, I guess what I'm hearing is it's sort of an unintended consequence of attempting to preserve a noted property in town. So I guess that in the desire to save the older homes, maybe at times we're going to run into this kind of a, as I say, unintended consequence. And as long as the neighbor who's most impacted by it isn't against this, I guess I'm okay with it,
Thank you.
barring
Ms.
additional knowledge that I'm not thinking of yet at this point, but I'm happy to listen to other people's thoughts.
Thank you.
And honestly, just to add, we had no intention of doing anything like this. It's just, we were trying to remain consistent to the spirit of what was approved by the village board. But old buildings create interesting times, so, excuse me.
Oh, no,
Didn't
fine.
mean to
Member
interrupt.
Russell?
Rob, as you probably recall, I was one of the ones that recommended against the initial variation and thought you should have taken the entire expansion out the rear of the home and not had any more infringement on the adjacent property. But I do understand that's over and done with now. I do understand the surprise that you were faced with here. I only wished, as a matter of policy, that if it would happen again, that the builder contact the Lake Bluff Building Department and let them see it before they go ahead and frame it out, which I understand didn't happen. In my calls to Village Hall, they made the decisions, you made the changes, and it was only noted during the building inspection whenever that occurred. So I just think, as a matter of good policy, you ought to let the building official be able to look at it when the problem's discovered, because maybe he has a suggestion that, because we certainly, sitting here at the desk, cannot possibly determine whether or not there is a feasible solution. And that, on this particular issue, it's a tough one, but I just wanted to note that I think, I don't know if it's a builder that works a lot in the town or not, but that's all. That's my only comment.
Thank you, Member Russell. Well, conceptually, Member Russell, all make sense to you from a technical perspective.
Yeah, as far as I can figure out, but without actually being
Oh.
on site and seeing the framing,
Okay.
it's awfully difficult to follow. I understand in concept what the issues that he's faced with, and they are difficult.
Thank you. Member Toll.
Having both lived in old houses and as a former employee of a builder in town, having worked on older houses, I definitely appreciate the surprises that come up once you start opening walls. And we've had to, when I was doing that kind of work, we often had to find creative solutions to problems that were 100 years old. And so I absolutely appreciate the going after the spirit, but also having to come back with additional requests once things are open. So I take no issue with the changes.
Thank you, Member Toll. Member Sorensen.
Unmute. There we go. I want to second Member Russell's point that it would be a positive development to have had the builder reach out to Mike Croak and to give us that second perspective and a neutral perspective. That said, old homes are old homes. I very much appreciate that the neighbor has weighed in and doesn't have an issue with this. So I don't have a problem with it because this is a unique physical condition. Aside from just, it would be good practice to connect to the people in the village and give folks a heads up rather than acting first.
Thank you, Member Sorensen.
Thank you.
And then we do have an attendee that's requesting to speak on Zoom.
Oh, then we'll have to swear them in.
Okay.
Do we have their name?
Jeremy Velikoff.
Jeremy Velikoff, if you could raise your right hand and we'll swear you in before you provide testimony.
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, please proceed. State your name for the record and your address.
My name is Jeremy Felichkoff. My address is 406 Kelly Lane, Crystal Lake, Illinois, 60012.
Okay. Yep, please proceed.
All right, so just in hearing the hearings, I just want to speak to one thing as it relates to Mr. Russell. As the builder with Tri-Stone Development, we've done a lot of projects in Lake Bluff, and obviously we'll continue to do so. But I just want to be very clear that the way this was found was with a roof totally exposed, wide open to the elements, with the homeowner still using their master bedroom within about 30 feet of the area in question. And as the builder, I am fully prepared to address this depending on which way this goes tonight, but I had to enclose the space and climate and control it. So this was found after it was opened up, and to leave it opened for answers just wasn't going to be conducive to saving the other parts of this house. So I just want to be clear that I protected the homeowner while we had time to come to this meeting. So I just want to be clear that in an event that I had that opportunity where we could have left it exposed to get the answers needed, Tri-Stone Development would have.
No, thank you very much for those comments and the further explanation. Mr. Douglas, from your perspective then, you've been following the guidance provided by the village board and done everything that you can to the best of your ability and to the best of the builder's ability.
Yes. And, you know, when this event occurred, yes, they gave me a call, and that's when I saw what was happening, so. But yes, I've lived in this town for over 20 years, and I've done a lot of projects here. This has been one of the most challenging projects I've ever dealt with. I can certainly say that.
No, I appreciate those comments, and I, like the fellow commissioners, understand that this was an extenuating circumstance, probably could not be predicted with any certainty at all, and so I'm comfortable with the proposal. In this case, we're a recommending body, so depending on the course of the vote, you'll be going before the village board shortly. But any further discussion from the commissioners? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved. Motion to recommend to the village board the changes as proposed.
Second?
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, if we could have a vote, please, Ms. Gable.
Yep. Member Fisher?
Get, aye.
Member Russell?
Aye.
Member Sorensen?
Aye.
Member Toll?
Aye.
And Chair Peters.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Douglas.
And
Hopefully the remainder of the path is uneventful.
yeah, there shouldn't be anything else, but I can assure you, this was a tough one, and honestly, right from the get-go, this has been a challenge. And so I appreciate your patience and working with us to try to modernize this house, at the same time try to maintain its historic character. So, thank you.
No, thank you. When will the petitioner appear before the village board?
We'll work to get on, to get them on the Monday meeting, this coming Monday, for first reading.
All right, thank you.
If you don't mind, I'll give you a call tomorrow so we can discuss that, because as far as if there's a way the village board might consider first and second readings at one time so that this project can get closed up before inclement weather.
Yeah.
So, but thank
can
you. I'll give you a
discuss
call
that.
in the morning.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5, staff report. Ms. Gable?
I actually do not have anything other than thanking you guys for coming to the special meeting last week, and I hope to have something to report on the comp plan soon.
No, thank you. I think it was very enlightening, and we're off to a good start.
Absolutely.
Agenda item number 6, commissioners report.
Question, did our restaurant friends follow up and contact the village after their visit last month?
So we had that visit, and our understanding is that they are no longer pursuing the property, unfortunately.
Did they say why?
I'm not sure of the details.
All right. Any other comments or questions or requests from the commissioners? Hearing none. Agenda item number 7, adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.